Hello everyone, I am Paul McGuire Grimes from Paul's Trip to the Movies, Twin Cities Live, and My Talk 1071. The new movie, Beautiful Boy, is now in theaters, and the other day, I had the opportunity to introduce it at a sold-out audience at the landmark Uptown Theaters, and afterwards, I got to moderate a Q&A with its star, Timothée Chalamet, and author Nic Sheff, who Timothy plays in the movie. Here is the video.
Stand. What? Yeah, you can have a seat. You're our guest. I can stand. So welcome to Minneapolis. Everyone here was so moved by this movie. Timmy, do you mind if I call you Timmy?
Whatever works. Yes.
When you first got the script and decided to play Nick, what did you do to get in that mindset of becoming an addict?
Yes. It's so good to be here. It's so. Okay. Segue into a serious thing. There was a lot to do. There was, this film is based on two memoirs. I'm sure people here have read before. Some people tweet that Nick wrote and his father David wrote Beautiful Boy. Yeah. And so there was the source material there to draw from. A lot of time in outpatients and inpatients and meetings and rehabs in Los Angeles and that area. And then lastly, in hanging out with Nick and spending a lot of time with him, spending time in these places, you realize the humanity of it all. And as far as acting it, that was the key for me. All of a sudden it was like, well, don't act this, just be. This isn't a caricature of a drug addict. Play a human who is addicted to drugs. And then once I felt like I had that license, then I could go. And a lot of that was getting your blessing and your dad's blessing to try and do this movie.
Nick, thank you so much for sharing your story, allowing audiences to go along with your journey from addiction to recovery. So thank you for that. When you're going around and talking to people, you mentioned in the book that doing the 12-step program, talking to addicts, what has the reception been like? How has that helped you?
I will also, like Timmy said, thank you guys so much for being here. For me, the amazing thing about sharing my story through my book is that I just got to see how, in a way, being really open, it just kind of seemed like it allowed other people to be really open too. And so I would go around the country and talk to people, and through me sharing my story, it felt like other people were able to share their stories with me, which was so amazing. And just to be able to connect with people like that was incredible. And so with the movie, it just felt like this was an opportunity to kind of do that, but on an even bigger scale. And I'm so grateful. So amazing to have such an incredible actor like Timmy in the film, because it just I feel like it's bringing awareness. It's bringing young people to the film that I think wouldn't necessarily see it otherwise. And you kind of can't ask for anything more than that.
Timmy, whether it's this movie or Call Me By Your Name, these two movies that wreck you, that hit you in this deep emotional part of your soul and core of who you are as people, how does it feel to be in these two projects, to reach out to millions of people and have that effect on them? What has the response been like to you to hear from these people?
Well, I think in both those projects, the first responsibilities to the book and here to Nick and David, and with that one with Andre Osman, but really it's a lot of gratitude. And I've said it before, but I really love acting. I love movies. I love filmmaking, and I think as I got into it more, I got worried that it was becoming like opera or something, and that people didn't go to movies anymore, young people weren't into it or something. And I don't know, to answer that, also Lady Bird, Greta Gerwig's movie, and it's just awesome to see, I don't know, people my age here and enthusiastic about these things, but like I said, it's more about the works themselves.
Nic, what do you say to people out there? What advice do you have for someone that may be struggling with addiction or mental health issues? What do you have to say to them?
I think, of course, there's a huge problem in this country with people having access to treatment, and that's something that really needs to change. It's crazy that insurance a lot of times won't pay for for addiction treatment, and addiction is a disease. It's not a choice. It's a brain disease, and it should be treated like any other disease. But the cool thing is, I think there's just a lot of hope out there. And one thing my doctor said to me the other day, which I thought was so cool, she said the reason she loves working with addicts is because when you're treating someone who has a regular kind of disease like cancer or something, you can get cured and your life can go back to the way that it was before, which is amazing. But with addiction, when you get sober, it's not like your life just goes back to the way that it was before. Your life gets so much better than it ever had been. And I thought that was really cool, and that's totally been the case for me. Getting sober, my whole life has just completely opened up, and I've seen it with all the guys I work with and my friends. It's a really amazing life that's possible sober. And so the fact that addiction isn't a death sentence, and that the movie shows, the love that a family has is always there, even after everything that we all went through. To have that love in the end is just beautiful, and that's something really appreciate.
I feel like I could ask you a bazillion questions about this movie, but I want to open it up to the audience. What questions do you have for Timothée Chalamet and Nic Sheff? Yes.
Thanks. Like all parents, I worry, but I've seen a lot, and it frightens me to think about, what could happen to my kids' health. And when I do, addiction is one of the most terrifying health conditions that I can imagine for them. And what I don't know and what I kind of wonder about, and want to hear what you think about, is, do you think there's such a thing as prevention? As we parent and as we love and take care of our children, what advice would you give to parents?
Well, that's an amazing question, and a hard question too, right? Because it'd be just so great if there was an easy answer. And I think it's one thing I think that's really brave about the movie actually is that it never kind of tries to say why was I a drug addict? Because there is no why. It's just this combination of all these different things that come together to make someone an addict. But we do know, scientists know, people who study this stuff, I guess, scientists, they know that the longer you can keep young people from using, the longer you can just kind of keep someone from, doing drugs and drinking, the better chance they have of not developing a dependency. So, especially when the brain's developing, in high school and stuff. It's the time when everyone, or a lot of people, start using drugs, and it's really dangerous because your brain is just so not prepared or not formed yet. So the longer we can keep someone from using, that definitely has a big impact. And then also, I just think educating people about what these drugs do, and trying to help young people deal with stress in different ways, because they've done studies where they'll ask a lot of young people why they use drugs, and I think a lot of people think it's because they just want to have fun or whatever, but what young people say more than anything else is because they have so much stress in their life, and that's why they use drugs. So helping people to deal with that stress in a different way, I think, could be super helpful. If that helps.
Nic, how were you and your dad involved in making that movie?
We really trusted. We were really worried at first about sort of putting our books into the hands of these people that we didn't know, but it was just a process of building trust, and we really trusted the producers, we really trusted the director. But for me, really, when I met Timothy, it was amazing because, you know, I was like super nervous about who was this kid that was gonna be like playing me. But, you know, it's just as soon as we met, I just saw that like he was so committed to doing this in the right way, you know, not relying on addiction cliches, like being as sort of authentic and true as, you know, he possibly could be. And when I watched his performance, like, I'm just so blown away. I honestly think there's never been a portrayal of addiction as real feeling as what Timmy did in this movie.
Other questions? Yes.
I just want to say I flew out to Toronto in September to go see this movie premiere, and even 1,000 miles away from home, it really just hit me so hard. But I want to ask about the artwork in the film. Like, I was wondering if you could tell me more about that.
Well, I think I like your shirt a lot. Yes, and she's really cool. This is one of my favorite tidbits of the movie. I think Nick maybe describes it a little bit better than I can. But Jasper, who's in the film, the little stepbrother, he was a PA on our movies. He was on set every day. The fully formed adult Jasper, no longer 7 years old, and he did all the artwork in the movie. He did all the drawings that you see, and I don't know if they were inspired or.
Yeah, no, I mean, you said it amazing. I mean, it was such a cool, it was kind of a random thing that he just graduated from college and needed a job, and so they put him as a PA on the movie, and you know, they
Gotta
just
start somewhere.
Yeah, right. And they just saw his artwork, and they were like, "Oh, wouldn't it be amazing?" And to me, that scene is so powerful. And if it wasn't Jasper's artwork, I don't think it would work as much because it feels so authentic.
Yes.
Hi, this is a question more for Timmy, but what was the hardest part to prepare for this role, and how did it differ preparing for a role that's based on an actual person rather than a fictional character?
I think like the hardest part became a really nice realization. I guess is what I said before in a way, like realizing, okay, wait, I don't have to make some leap or make some masochistic decision to like harm myself to be able to play this role, but rather like be a human. Like this is, I think it's the maybe even uncomfortable thing for people. The more you delve into addiction, as you go, oh wow, like this doesn't have a recognizable face. Like this could be anyone. This could be me, my family. And as far as it differs, it's just more pressure, and you just want to get it right more. And I guess with like the Call Me by Your Name, that was fiction. Like the anxiety was for the author again, getting it right. But that isn't as much of a pressure as playing someone. And also the story, independent of addiction or anything, it's like the family dynamics are so like raw or something. You didn't want me. Yeah, man, I was like, I don't know. Can you imagine like if someone was playing in your movie? That'd be so weird.
Nick, is it hard for you to go and watch the movie and relive that part of your life?
Yeah, it is super hard for sure, but it also, you know, the books came out 10 years ago. Recovery is still like it's a daily thing, and I'm really involved in that community. But you know, I do other things now, like I'm writing for television now, and so I'm not like just totally writing about addiction all the time. So in a way, like seeing the movie was just such an incredible reminder of everything that my family went through, and to me, it just made me feel so grateful because it was like, God, like seeing it on the screen like that, because it felt so real, I felt so like lucky just to be alive, and the fact that like my family, made it through that, and we've come out the other side. I almost feel like I should watch the movie like every 6 months or something, just to like be reminded of like how incredibly lucky I am. So in that sense, it was kind of like a gift a little bit that everyone kind of gave me, and I'm so grateful for that.
Questions over here, yes. Oh my goodness. Yeah, oh, yeah.
First of all, fantastic movie. Thank you both so much for all you contributed to this. And obviously, this is an incredibly emotional movie. But more for Timothy, what are some mental practices that you did to kind of separate yourself so you weren't, giving constantly to this movie?
I don't know if there was anything concrete that I would do, and again, it felt more like it's like twofold for me. One way was like, let me make sure I'm not like paradoxically, like selfishly taking away from the movie by being like, I need to be in pain all the time and miserable. And yet, without there being a mental practice, like I did try to step away at the end of the day and just do whatever. And yet, I was like really surprised without even literally going through it, but just like, wow, this is really a lot. And I guess, I don't know, that's really not an answer, but it was, I don't know, you'd like try to watch The Office or something. No, but
I see what you did there. In the back.
Are you coming to me? Because I can do it.
Yeah, I'll project then, yeah.
Thank you, Paul, by the way, for tweeting at me to let me know what's happening.
Yeah.
Both of you, first off, I think it's really important to let artists know that the work is reaching people and it's getting somewhere and it's worth it. So Nick, thank you so much for sharing your story with the world. This is new to me, so I'm definitely leaving the theater today with a new perspective, and eye into somebody's experience, because this is not part of my experience. Tim, on Christmas Day, I escaped my family due to politics, and came in this theater and saw Call Me By Your Name. And I just want to let you know that it touched me, and it is my story. I had a relationship very, very, very insanely similar to it. It's kind of disgusting how 100% on the nose it was. And I walked out and I went home and I came out to my family and my friends, so I just want to say thank you for the work you're doing. And I know it's not your story, and I know it is a fictional story, but you are, and as is Army, the faces that goes with that chapter of my life. So I just want to take a moment to look you in the eye and say thank you.
Thank you for saying that, really, and I'll hold that, because it just means the world that you say that. It means the world that you guys are here, period, truly, and that's why we're here, and that's why we I feel like we're doing this. Like, there's a lot of movies out, there's a lot of big commercial fanfare, like explosions and all that, and so no, truly, it means a lot that you would, that movie and this movie, these are like, indie sensibilities, and that doesn't always resonate with everyone, so thank you for saying it, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Question?
This is more for Timmy, but was there one scene in particular that was like pretty hard to film or stood out from the rest?
I think anything between Nick and David would, so we were sitting right here, like, anything that would make me think of my relationship with my father, that relates to that question too, like, making it, like, difficult to differentiate or something, but truly that rain sequence, I know it's very short in the movie, but the rain machine was really cold, I just lost a bunch of weight, and I was going to the heater in between takes, which is dumb, it's like asking for a cold, so, maybe that's not like the biggest war story, but that was definitely hard.
Yes, question.
First of all, I want to say, like you said, that your portrayal, it was just really good and like different than the regular like drama that you see on TV with addicts. So thank you for that, and thank you for sharing your story. In my family, we've dealt with addiction as well, and I have learned a lot from the people in my family who have that. What I want to ask is kind of personal. I don't know if you want to answer, but how were your siblings affected by it, and like how did they learn from it, and your relationship with them? How was that?
Oh, that's a really nice question. No, it's not too personal. I mean, I think it's one of the things about the movie, and one of the things that we really want to talk about is that really, like, no matter how far down we go, it's always possible to put those pieces back together again. As long as there's life, still there's always hope. And so for my little brother and sister, it was a slow process for sure. Like, I know how much I hurt them, and to me, the hardest thing to watch is the scene, where I stole the money from my little brother because of all the things, I mean, everything. Like, that's the thing that I have the most shame about. Because I remember when he was born, and I just wanted to be such a good influence on him, and to do that to him is just so terrible. But the amazing thing is, little by little, like I reached back out to them when I got sober, and we started talking like through email, and then we met, and now like could not be closer. My Jasper and Daisy both actually live in LA where I live, and we all go surfing all the time, and I mean it's so cool to see the way that a family can heal after kind of going through such hell. And I just feel like it gives me hope that other families, can heal like that too, because I've seen it happen, and it's amazing.
What's the relationship with your dad like right now?
That's really amazing too. I mean, it's a cool thing about having written these books and doing the movie. It's like we just get to spend a lot of time together, and it's super fun. Like, we're all in Toronto together and London, and I mean, it's just how amazing, like, to be able to do all this with my dad, and have I don't know, just like I think partly too because we've had to like talk about this stuff so many times and like deal with it. It's made it so like there's nothing we can't talk about now. Like there's no resentment that's still there. I don't think, and that's been a really cool like benefit of this process too.
More questions? Yes.
I'm just thinking, how important do you feel mental health would play a role in getting kids what age to start screening for mental health? I remember when I was a kid being screened for my scoliosis in my back, but no one ever talked about mental illness. And I think to this day, there's really not. When can we start screening? When would that have helped you? Maybe if somebody had picked up on something at a certain age with you, maybe it would have helped you.
Yeah, that's an amazing observation point. Like, I totally agree with that. I think, for me, I've dealt with depression, and I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder in like my mid-20s or something. I don't know how people didn't figure that one out earlier because it seems so obvious, but it made a huge difference for me to get on the medication, and I'm on like lithium now, Prozac and Lamictal, and all those things, like, they are the little part of the pieces of the puzzle that allow me to like stay sober and have this, just be happy on a daily basis. I mean, I wish that that could have been figured out earlier for sure. And I know for young people, it's sometimes it can be shameful to be on medication or to ask for help. But the cool thing is, I think that when you do ask for help, the help really is out there. It's maybe hard to find, but it's there, and it's possible to to sort of, I don't know, just to heal from this, which is amazing.
Yes, up in the, yes. Shout loudly. So she basically mentioned how her son is battling what Nic went through, and what advice does Nic have for her son are the things that he should be looking out for as part of his recovery.
Well, thank you for sharing that, and I'm so happy that he's in a safe place right now. That's amazing. I think just in early recovery, it's like just so important to just be really careful with yourself, and I think, I don't know, like my wife's dad just had this major surgery, right? So after the surgery, he really has to be super careful, and it's going to be a long sort of recovery process, right? And it's the same thing for getting sober, and it's just like sort of recovering from any other disease. Like, you just have to really take things slow and just hold on to, because that's the thing. Like, I would get so impatient, like, I'm not feeling better, I'm never gonna feel better, I'm always gonna feel like this. And it really takes time. I mean, they talk about it in the movie, like, it can take up to 2 years for your brain to totally, like, get back to normal functioning. So it's just like, just holding on through that process can be tough, but like, again, like the really cool thing is that once you just get through it, like life gets so much better, you know, so if you can just like believe that and surround yourself with people that can help like encourage you and keep you going, because it's so easy to reach out for the drugs again to try to feel better, and just, you know, every time it just, you know, obviously it makes everything worse. So yeah, just putting one foot in front of the other, you know, sometimes it's just like the most kind of best advice I can give, but yeah, thank you for sharing that, it's amazing.
Yeah, right here.
Thank you again for coming, both of you gentlemen. Timmy, I'd like to compliment you on your relationship, the way you worked with Steve Carell. The chemistry was amazing. Tell us how you got to that point, maybe share a little bit working with Steve. And Nick, how did your dad feel about that performance?
Well, you know, like Steve is literally Michael Scott, so that I'm a big fan in that regard, and like that, and also a lot of other stuff he did, was a big fan of. So there's a weird thing sometimes when you act with someone that's very well known and you already kind of know them in a way, and that was very helpful here because he was playing my father. And I don't mean this in a funny way, like he emits dad vibes, Steve. Like, and he really self-identifies as a dad. Like that's his, like when he looks in the mirror, he's a dad. And it's so interesting. The more we do these Q&As and stuff, I'm realizing like how important trust was to that equation, and that it was almost like assumed or something. I didn't feel like I felt very safe with him. And that's the best way I can describe it. Like sometimes you really just get lucky. I felt the same way about Army too. Like you just you hit it off sometimes. Yeah.
Timmy, when you were doing movies like this that really touch people, does that affect the future work that you will sign on to do, the projects that you're interested in?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, yeah. Oh yeah, I mean, yeah. And then I think there was a second part to that.
Oh, sorry.
No,
Bombarded your question.
No,
I
I'm sorry.
apologize.
But no, absolutely, yeah. You know, like try to work on good things, and if people want to like see good things, and you know, try to stick to that.
All right, Nick, how does David, your dad, feel about Steve Carell?
Thanks, Timmy, looking out for me. Yeah, you know, I think my dad said the same thing. He was like, I wish Steve could have been my dad. I mean, he said that. I wish Steve could have been my dad. Like, he just is such a dad, you know, and I wish, I mean, it's got so much warmth, you know, and yeah, and these guys' relationship is incredible to watch.
Yeah, right here.
So my question's for Nick, but Timothy, thank you so much for being here. That's really cool. But so I've come across a lot of people in my life who are very, I guess, unsympathetic of users or people who are addicted. And I guess I would ask, how would you argue with those people in those situations who don't want to be supportive of people with addictions?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. Yeah, it's super frustrating. I mean, I think there is this sense of like, why should we care about these people that are doing this to themselves? But I think, you know, the more that we can just spread the message that addiction is a disease, it's a brain disease, just like, you know, schizophrenia or bipolar disorder. And, you know, they say like about 10% of the population has this disease. And, you know, for me, like I tried everything to not have this. I mean, I just couldn't, it made no sense to me that it was a disease because it just doesn't look like a disease. So I tried everything to prove that that wasn't the case. But the fact is, you know, when I put a substance into my body, immediately this phenomenon of craving starts and I can't stop. And that seems to be like the common theme with, you know, everyone that I know who is in recovery. So yeah, just, I mean, I know it's frustrating to me too, to watch the way that people can be so unsympathetic. And, you know, I mean, the other thing about this disease is it really doesn't discriminate. You know, it affects, you know, everyone from every socioeconomic background, you know, every culture. And you know, all the privilege and money in the world can't save people, because you know, people are, you know, I mean, celebrities and stuff are dying from this all the time. So yeah, I mean, just getting that awareness out there is super, super important to both of us.
Yeah, right back there.
Me?
Yes.
Wow, okay. What did you learn most from working with Nick and from being Nick?
Asking Timothy, what did he learn most about being Nick?
You know, just the I'm ready, here we go. No, just the humanity, and it's really, if you read Beautiful Boy, it's exactly as he's described. I'm gonna make you feel really awkward. He's just really, you know, light with a tremendous sense of humor, and good energy. We've been hanging out this whole weekend. We were in Toronto together, and truly, like, it's what a joy. And again, it was learning what I didn't have to learn. That was like things that, like, oh, this is a great guy.
One of the things I've appreciated in your interviews, Timmy, is that you're talking about the fact that Nick did survive. There is a sense of hope throughout this movie, and I really appreciate that watching it both times, that there's this hope. Nick, you are a survivor, first and foremost, about this. So I just want to say thanks again for that. More questions? Yeah.
Hi, thank you guys again for coming. Minnesota's not always the place people choose for these, so we appreciate it. I kind of want to ask a little bit of a lighter question. So this film was really inspirational to me, and is a piece of art that I admire right now. So I kind of want to know, is there any artwork, artists, musicians, authors that are really inspiring you guys right now?
Well, yeah, I mean, you know what? I think there's really a ton of great movies that are being made right now, and you know, I think it's interesting. Like, it can feel kind of like we're. This is going to be super dark, but you kind of feel like we're living in the decline a little bit sometimes. At least I feel that way. But the thing that's coming out of that is some like really amazing artwork. But I'm going to cheat a little bit just because, you know, I feel like I look at Timmy, and he really is like just such an incredible role model for everyone. I mean, not just young people. And you see the way that he just inspires people to like just to sort of seek out like art and music and cool movies. And I mean, it's just amazing. Like I feel like to be able to spend this time with you two, to me, it's just been incredible. And you know, I just, when I like see you as a performer, I just think like we all feel like you just make us all fall in love with you. So you know, it's
Questions from the back. I don't want to listen back. Oh my God. Okay, yeah, over here.
You'll answer it, but
I mean, like Rick and Morty or something.
First of all, thank you very much for coming. Timothy, I just want to say you're just a phenomenal actor. You seem like a phenomenal person. I look forward to watching you do more. Keep doing original and important work like this. I got you this T-shirt with the Zaddy Steve.
Who did that thing up front? That thing is crazy. You've seen the marquee, it says Zaddy Steve Carell. It was you? Sorry.
It was me.
Oh, you? Yeah.
I just wanted to say to Nick, I've been in recovery 24 years. I don't know if you got my DM or whatever, but I wanted to give you my medallion because you still give people hope by sharing your story, and also in case you ever need some hope in the decline. So I would like to give that to you.
thank you.